Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining me for another Finding Inspiration Friday. This month's inspiration comes from the artist Gustav Klimt. So I was scrolling through Instagram and came across this picture, and I'll put it over here, which I thought was just so eye-catching. With all the bamboo and yellow, and then you have the purple hair, it just really pops out. It's so pretty. And for some reason, the gold artwork from Gustav Klimt came to my mind. I did teach an art history lesson about Gustav Klimt to my students a few months ago, so that's probably why it's like fresh in my mind, but seeing this page really reminded me of some of his artwork. So let me tell you a little bit about Gustav, show you some of his paintings, and then I'll explain how I'm going to use his paintings as my inspiration for this coloring page. All right, so Gustav Klimt was an Austrian painter from the late 1800s to early 1900s. His works include portraits, murals, and sketches. His primary subject matter was the female body. He was a prominent member of the Vienna Art Nouveau movement, and I'm concentrating on his golden phase. So in this artwork, he uses oil pastel and lots of gold leaf. Other characteristics of his work are repeated detailed patterns and lines combined with realistic faces and hands. These two paintings, the portrait of Adele Block-Bauer in 1907 and The Kiss from 1908, are the ones that are inspiring my picture today. So let's take a look at the page I'm coloring. It is from the book Guardians of the Enchanted Forest by Julia Rivers. Illustrated by Forest Diver. And the bamboo will act as my repeated patterns, same with some of the leaves and foliage here. And I'm going to be doing these all in gold shades. So I have a variety of gold mediums. I have lots of like yellow gold markers. I have some watercolors, very sparkly gold watercolors. And I have some different paints that obviously this one's kind of like a chunky gold, and this is just a metallic paint. Also a gold gel pen. So I'll be using these mediums and incorporating them here and there. I'm just not exactly sure what will go where yet. Also, I'm going to do her hair in a very dark brown or black color, so that will really stand out with all the gold, just like in the artist work. And then her skin is going to be more natural skin tones. And somehow I'm going to incorporate these colors, some blues, reds, and greens into here too. I want to keep it at a minimum. So, you know, I might do some of these, but some of this might also be gold, and then I might just do some little dots of color in some of these little like paisley shapes. So, all right, so that is my goal and inspiration. All right, this should be fun. So let's see what happens. All right, I'm going to be using Ohuhu Alcohol markers for the majority of the coloring. These are one-sided pages with a black background. So it's always nice to use the alcohol markers when I don't have to worry about the page behind. I'm starting with the skin tone, and I'm using a very light neutral shade and a slightly darker shade for a hint of shadow. The black background always throws me off when coloring with alcohol markers because they are wet and it picks up that black background and it just doesn't look like the same color. It does dry quick, so that's good. And as you can see, this does not look like a light color, but it will start to lighten up pretty quickly. Like most of my videos, I'll be doing some real-time coloring, some speed coloring, and coloring off camera if it gets too repetitive. I try to explain what I'm doing as I go along, but feel free to ask me any questions in the comments. I've picked out a variety of yellow shades that I think will look good for gold. I want my lightest shade to be used in this upper middle section, and this will act as the highlight. Again, as you're watching this, the initial laydown of the color is not what it will look like when it dries. And I'm not being too careful, just brushing the color on in that section, going a little higher and lower than what I actually need so that the next color I put on top will overlap that one. I have 4 shades of yellow, so I will keep going with that technique, just overlapping the colors, going from light to dark until I get to the ends on the top and the bottom. All right, so this is the second yellow, and I'm just gonna work on the 2 ends, so the top and the bottom, starting it a little away from that edge of the first color and then blending into it. I love the brush tip for this type of coloring. Okay, third color, which is a little darker. Same thing, starting away from the edge of the previous color and then blending it in a little into that second color. I will often take that second color and blend back and forth too. It's just really hard to tell with this black background what exactly is going on and how it's blending until it's all dry. And then the darkest color will cap the upper and lower ends of the bamboo. I will finish this little section here and then finish the rest off camera and get back to you. All right, all the bamboo is done, and now onto the leaves poking out around the bamboo. I picked out a very dark golden yellow for them, and then this is the other marker I have is kind of an older one, and it is just darker than this Y8 shade, so a little bit more on the brown shade too. Good for like the stems and center of the leaves. All right, leaves done. Now onto these little paisley shapes. I'm going to fill in parts of them with the gold gel pen. And oops, I forgot that I wanted to color them in first with my lightest yellow shade. So I'll fill all those in and then I'll come back to the gel pen. All right, all of those are done now, and I'm seeing a few areas that I could probably recolor or add some more color to, so I'm just going to take one of these lighter yellow markers and fill in these areas around the leaves. I thought these flowers would be good for my red pop of color. Hopefully it won't be too much. So I'm going to be using 3 shades of red, a light, a medium, and a dark. All right, and then my next colors are going to be green and blue. I have a light green and a dark green that I'll be using on these more rounded shaped leaves. And then the pointier leaves, I'm going to use just one shade of blue. I apologize. I did the hair off camera by accident, but I just colored it solid with a very dark brown and then used the gold gel pen for highlights. The antlers I'm coloring in with another dark kind of golden brown shade, and then I'm going to go on top of that with a gold watercolor. All right, next I'm going to be using these watercolors. They are by CSY Art Gallery, purchased from Amazon, and they have the perfect shimmery gold watercolor. All right, now I want to incorporate this very chunky glitter acrylic paint. I'm thinking about putting it into the paisleys. It's glitterific by FolkArt in rose gold, and it has a variety of glitters and like gold foil, which I think will represent gold leaf. And just squeezing some out on a scrap piece of paper and then using a paintbrush to pick it up and apply it to the page. All right, now that some of that watercolor has dried, I'm going to use this glitter acrylic pen by ZSCM and just fill in some of these little areas inside the flute. All right, I'm going to add a little spots here inside this flower too. So let me take out this background paper and let me hold it up and move it around so you can see all this shiny gold goodness. Okay, this gold page is done. Here are my final thoughts, and let's compare it with the pictures that gave me the inspiration. I think the bamboo is really pretty, and the hair definitely stands out against all the yellow, and the red flowers really pop off the page. Maybe a little too much. I think the only thing I'm not in love with is the chunky gold in the paisleys, but overall it was fun to try to capture the style of Gustav Klimt. Thank you everyone for watching, and I hope you have fun finding inspiration for your coloring pages.